Welcome to the Woodpreneur podcast, the number one podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. The Woodpreneur podcast is proudly sponsored by Acres CRM. Acres CRM is the wood industry's only customer relationship management software dedicated to helping you automate your sales and marketing so that you can focus on serving your customers and growing your business. You can visit acresoftimber.com to learn more and to schedule a demo. Once again, that's acresoftimber.com. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur podcast. It's your host, Steve. Today's guest is Steve Thomson from Happy Life Wood. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. So I think we connected maybe like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. When you bought one of my Woodpreneur sweatshirts.
Yeah.
So thank you for supporting. That was really cool. And then during that time, your work is truly one of a kind. Like I've never seen anything like it, especially in the wood community. Could you tell everybody about your business and what you do specifically with wood?
Yeah, I do. I do a form of intarsia where I take different species of wood and basically utilize them in a fashion that replicates a photograph or an object. So I take the different species of wood and I side glue them all together and build what I call a foundation, and then I sculpt and carve it. So that's really the basics. It's at its root, it's probably intarsia. But if you look at tarsia and you look at my process, there's some subtle differences. And the end result is, I think, quite a bit different in the fact that I end up with something that's a little bit more realistic than, your typical intarsia, where they tend to just kind of, round over the kind of put them together like a puzzle, whereas I get them all together and I sculpt the whole thing as one unit.
Yeah. And what it turns out is that like you end up making these really, really realistic, like, I mean, it's art. It's literally art, right? And how did you get started in this space? Like, and how did you land upon this particular form of like wood, wood making?
Yeah, it's interesting. I spent 25 years in the corporate world as a marketing director.
Okay.
And is kind of just looking for an outlet. I tried to do some DIY projects in the woodworking space. I had never even picked up a tool in my life. I mean, I didn't have any experience at all. And I tried a couple simple things, some shelves, in the house and different things like that, and started buying tools and watching a ton of YouTube videos and just kind of teaching myself the basics of fundamental woodworking. And I really enjoyed it. I found it to be extremely fulfilling. It gave me an outlet that, just really took the stresses away from, my everyday life. I'd get home and just get submerged in, one of these projects. And it was almost therapeutic. It was a wonderful way to kind of divert, those everyday stresses. And, I continued down that path for about a year, trying different things. I built, a table, I built an armoire, I built, coffee tables, different things like that. The typical woodworking, journey in the beginning, along the way, buying tools and building a shop and setting up dust collection, the whole thing, some cutting boards. And about a year into it, I I was kind of like, it's because I have a graphic design background, a creative background. I've always been an illustrator and drawn and painted and stuff like that. I was always in everything I did in terms of woodworking. I was always looking for a creative spin to put on it. And I think it was a year into it. It was my son's birthday. I wanted to do something for him out of wood. You know, he lives in Denver. He's across the country. And I knew I had to do something that I could ship, you know, so I couldn't do like, you know, a big piece of furniture or shelves or anything like that. So I thought to myself, you know, I want to try to basically replicate a sneaker. He's a big sneakerhead, and out of wood, and using, you know, the natural colors in the different species of wood. At that time, you know, I utilized the different species of wood that I had laying around my shop in terms of scraps and things like that. And so, you know, I thought to myself, okay, I got to make myself a template. So, you know, downloaded a picture of the sneaker, kind of digitized it in Illustrator, Photoshop, and made myself a template, and basically just started cutting out the pieces on my scroll saw. And, you know, basically, I think my initial thinking was, okay, I'll cut these pieces out, I'll fit them together like a puzzle, and really that will be it. But as I started to kind of like sand and kind of like shape the pieces, I noticed that I was gaining like a little bit of realistic, you know, look to this thing. So, you know, I at one point I kind of stood back and I'm like, wow, this thing's really starting to take on a realness, and I really like the way it's going. So I continued on that path and just kind of refined it as much as I could. I didn't have a lot of, you know, carving or sculpting tools at the time. So it was just a lot of sandpaper. And, you know, I think I did have a small little Dremel at the time. But I ended up giving the piece to my son, and he was just blown away. He's like, Dad, you know, you're onto something here. This is so different. This is so unique. You know, you should really continue down this path.
That's so
And
cool.
I knew that I wanted to do another project, and it was right around the time of Kobe Bryant's passing. And I thought, wow, it would be really cool to do a tribute, you know, to him. So I decided to do a portrait of Kobe Bryant. And I went through the same process as I did on the first piece, and you know, where I digitized a photograph, and then you know, printed it out large scale, and then just started cutting out the you know, my template. And really that one took me a long time because I was kind of developing my own kind of technique and process. So I started over a few times and, you know, tried different things, but ultimately ended up finishing it. And you know, I personally, I thought it came out good, but, you know, as artists, or, you know, even woodworkers or whatever, you're always, you know, your own worst critic. And so I got feedback from people that was just, you know, overwhelming. I couldn't believe the reaction that I got from different folks. So I had a buddy that said, you know, do you mind if I post that on Instagram? And I said, no, that's fine. You know, at the time I didn't have a real strong presence on social media in terms of my work and stuff. So he put it up, and he calls me a little while later and he goes, "You're not going to believe this, but Pau Gasol,
Wow.
you know, Kobe's teammate and you know, one of his best friends, shared it." And I'm like, "Oh wow, that's really cool," you know. And then he calls me back about, you know, a half hour later and says he just DM'd me and wants to know how he can purchase it. So next thing I know, I'm on a you know, a Zoom call with Pau Gasol and his business manager, negotiating a price for this piece. And I'm like, yeah. So anyways, you know, that's kind of how I got started. And you know, from there, it really kind of took on a life of its own. I was still working in my full-time job. And right at the time when that kind of like Powell ended up posting the piece, and it blew up my whole life. Really, it kind of went viral, and I had a lot of publicity and just a ton of exposure from it. And right at that time, I ended up getting laid off from my job due to COVID. And I said, you know what? I'm going to jump into this thing, head first, and just see what I can do with it. So my son at the time, he said to me, Dad, I want to help you with this business. I want to partner with you and help you with all of the, all your social, all your business interactions, and just really be a part of this with you, because I think we can really do something special here. So he works full time in influencer marketing and influencer software and stuff like that. That's his full-time job. So we started doing it, and man, I'll tell you, we haven't looked back since.
So you doing this full time now?
Full time. Yeah, I have been for
That's
about
so cool.
2 years.
And then,
Yeah.
and I mean, you want to talk about niches. Of all the niches, sneaker culture is massive. It's global. It's massive.
It's
and,
massive.
And
And I'll tell you,
I mean, I know of one other person that I've come across that makes sneaker related things. They do more signs, but you do more art. There aren't a lot of people. So you're kind of like in a blue ocean, right?
well, I mean, the unique thing about it is what I do is a niche in itself. And then I've kind of gone down this road into a niche within, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
I've found like a double niche, if you want to say it that way. But yeah, no, I mean, the sneaker community has been amazing. I mean, I was blown away by the creativity in that whole community. Not only, sneakerheads, they're interesting, everybody, the people outside of that world look at it and they're like, well, they're just a sneaker, what?
Yeah.
But these guys, they look at sneakers as art. I mean,
That's art. Yeah. Art on your feet.
To them.
Yeah.
So I think that my work really resonated with them, just because I think they see the sneaker as art, but then to see that sneaker in another art form on top of that, is just, is interesting. So it's been phenomenal. And believe it or not, there are a fair number of artists that focus on sneaker, culture, sneaker, community. Yeah.
That's so cool. And so I guess the thing with Kobe blew up, and then how did you start, like, I don't know, getting more and more notoriety? Was it like, oh, I saw this and then I'm going to start designing it, and then people started coming to you? Or did you just start, how did that happen?
It was a perfect storm in terms of timing. I was able to, really, make a go of it. There was a lot of different programs and things going on because of COVID that helped me, you know what I mean? And, it was a lot of things were like getting, small business loans or whatever, but they were just basically relief from your current, what do I want to say, your current obligations, financially. So it was perfect timing. And at the time I remember saying, talking to my son and like, people were reaching out like crazy, but I didn't really have a big, body of work to show them. I just had the one piece and maybe the other sneaker piece. So I said, I took on anything, that I could get my hands on, and really just, and even if it was, sacrificing, what I really thought my work was worth, just to get a portfolio. And we just, we just reached out to so many different people. We, leveraged and tried to build relationships whether it be in the woodworking community, the sneaker community, the sports community, and just, tried to set up as many meetings as we could, on a weekly basis to just learn and just, try and get advice and get little tidbits of, what they're doing that's helping them, but our philosophy is, we want to partner with good people that are doing good things. And, it's just, people have been so gracious in terms of sharing. And, that if I had to give advice to anybody just starting out, it's like, utilize people that are doing, things, like you're doing. And, just, it's a community, and people are so generous, if you just ask, for a few minutes of their time. But we've built so many, great relationships, and then just really tried to leverage, social, to promote my work. Once I kept, starting to do additional pieces, and we just, we tried to leverage social as much as possible to get as many eyes as possible on it.
What's been one of the more challenging parts of doing this, this style of business?
It's it's been, he and I, just the two of us, and we've bootstrapped, the entire time. So, it's just, we work like crazy. I mean, I work, 17, 18-hour days. I love it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love it. It's a passion of mine, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it's been challenging as much success as we've seen in the past 2 years, we're so grateful and we feel so blessed. But we feel like we're just scratching the surface. So, it's like, when do you look at, maybe trying to add someone to give some relief to, to what we're doing, or, it's been, it's how do you spend the dollars that you have the most effectively?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And what was one of the most satisfying sort of projects that you've ever worked on?
Probably at one point, the pinnacle for me was when Steve Butcher, who's probably one of the world's top tattoo artists in realism, he, commented on my work, and I was like, I felt so great about that. And then he actually wanted to commission a piece. And to me, when somebody of that, that accomplished in their field and in the art field to reach out to me, and it was just, that was just a high point for me.
That's great. And what does the future hold for you?
Oh man, it's, just to keep going, to get as many eyes as I possibly can in my work. I think it's different. I think it's unique, and I just want to share it with the world. And one of the things that that I really strive to do, and it's in the name of my company, but it's to bring happiness to people through my art. And I've had several opportunities to do pieces for people's loved ones that have passed away or whatever, and it's just that moment of them seeing the piece and realizing that how much joy that's brought them, there's no other feeling in the world. It's just phenomenal. So I just want to continue to do that. I want to get my work out there, and just to continue to be able to to do this for a living. It's just, I feel like I'm living a dream. Every day when I come out to my shop, I have to pinch myself and say, am I really doing this? Are people really purchasing my work, and, for, a good, a good amount of money that can actually, enable me to, do it for a living.
Yeah, no, your work is definitely one of a kind, and I'd love to help with that. So this is a part of the podcast where I help you with any marketing or business advice. Is there anything that you'd like some help on, marketing or business wise, or things that that's a challenge that you'd like for me to help think you through?
Yeah, actually, one of the things that, one of the goals that we've had, and we, my son and I we're so busy and we're so immersed in it that we haven't really had time to sit down and strategize and put together a solid business plan and, really look at what our goals are in terms of the business. We know that really the one real goal that we have is to ultimately have the business be able to support both of us. And, we're not sure how we're going to do that. He is extremely talented. And I mean, you've seen it with our growth. And I mean, that's all him in terms of building relationships and, just, working with people and gaining their trust and, working with us. And, we've tried to, build relationships with people, that have a big following that we can then, try and leverage in terms of viewership, where they'll share it and we can build content around both of us and hopefully it benefits both of us. But that's really the goal, is to try and bring him over full time. He loves, we have a very common interest in, sneakers, streetwear, pop culture, everything like that. And really ultimately how can we take, here you've got myself as the artist, right? But we're also building a brand, and we want to take that brand and somehow, umbrella it over multiple different things. And we don't know what those are yet. Apparel,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yeah, so I have some ideas for you. And so one is that I don't know what the price point is of the sort of really, really high-end custom stuff, but I think you should probably look at your pricing strategy and come up with some low tier products, like under $100, right? And it is something unique, one of a kind, that you do a drop every month about, right? Like a month every 6 weeks. That's one thing. Because especially if you can align your products to be aligned with the major sneaker drops that happens, right? Like if you could somehow get plugged into that would be really, really incredible. The second thing is so you have that. The other thing was aligning yourself with particular dates. I don't know. Have you done anything around like Air Force One Day or
yeah, well, we haven't, but we
or
almost,
like Jordan's birthday, right? Like, or Kobe's birthday, right? Like,
yeah.
And I know that you've done the thing with Kobe, but like if you can donate a piece, like have it be part of your brand. Happy Life Wood is about like helping kids, right? Like you can align yourself with some of these sneaker donating organizations and like, like do like a 1-for-1. Because the other thing, so like I went to a conference and then they had like these little miniature like dunks, like that was part of their brand, and it was on a keychain.
Mhm.
and I gave it to my son. And my son, it was like it's like a prize thing. So like imagine being able to do like a 1-for-1 where you give it to a kid so that happy life starts to be associated with uh like giving back, right?
You yeah, did you see the Kobe Mambasita
Yeah, I did
small
see that.
thing?
Yeah,
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 we donated 100% of the
yeah.
profits
The
to.
proceeds. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So that to me, I'm like, scale that idea and make it baked in, like bake it into your business,
right.
right? And then the third thing is look at who are so aside from regular sneaker culture, like I don't know, I feel like start branching into the streetwear side of things, or like skateboarding has it's just it's all sneakers, right? Not
Oh,
just streetwear, it's all
yeah,
and so like there's a skateboarder named Paul Rodriguez, like you could also do like a series like the GOAT series, right? Like, you know, have everybody vote on who like the best basketball players are all time, and then you take their first shoe, and then that becomes like the like, you know what I mean? So you could just
yeah,
create, you could segment. So I guess the first thing is, one, do more charity stuff. Two, price segment and have an entry level product for under $100. And then three, start to align yourself with key dates and key themes, and almost like you basically should just have like a schedule. Like, okay, this is the schedule. This is Jordan's birthday. This is, Air Force One day. This is this. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, those are great ideas. Absolutely. We've also done, we've kind of inched our way into drops. Basically, when I do a piece, we're started to do limited edition posters that are,
Yeah.
or prints or whatever of my work, that are signed and numbered.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I
And we
mean,
did really well with those. I did the ones and the fours. We did prints of those, and we did really well. And we just dropped the ones, the piece I did for PJ. We just dropped that 2 days ago, and it's doing okay. It's we're getting a little bit of traffic.
sure, sure. Yeah, and I mean, some of these younger players, they have like a lot of engagement, a lot of engagement. And
Yeah,
so if you could make a very small, like, again, $100, and this is something that you can like crank out fairly easily, it could be like a pretty cool thing. I mean, I would even look at like potential joint ventures. Like, hey, 50-50. You promote it, I make it. It goes on to my website,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Is that helpful?
No, it's extremely helpful. There are things that we've discussed, before, but I think there's a couple new things that are very interesting in there. But it's like, no matter what I do in terms of my work, there's no getting around the fact that it takes a long time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Your work takes a long
So
time.
it's like, but I think that if I could figure out some way to replicate, and we could do it, you did it in the prints, that's something that you can do. You can replicate it. So if people want something that's under $100, and that they can support and follow Happy Life Wood as a supporter or whatever. But what else, what else could we do in terms of replication, on a smaller scale,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those
I
are.
mean, those. Yeah, I figure out. I mean, again, this is more about your processes, and that's probably like a business decision. To how do you take one of your things and just make it super simple, right?
Yeah.
And maybe this is something that like you and your son could like literally work on. It's like, you're gonna work a week and you're gonna crank out 200 of these things, and that's what you do.
Yeah,
and you do that, and because then that could that week that you make could equate to one of your larger pieces, right? If you do it right.
Absolutely. Something on a smaller scale, but even looking at a way to somehow automate it, in terms of whether it's like CNC or some type of, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's probably what you'll have to do is like, partner with the CNC person, get those cut out. And then you're just focused on, you could probably just glue it together and then have the CNC do it. Right. That's probably the easiest thing for you to do.
I don't even know. I mean, then you got and the smaller you go with that, this stuff is, the more detailed it almost becomes possible to cut, you know what I mean? Because it's so small. You can only cut so small, but yeah, I mean, whether it's some type of,
I bet you, listen, you have 15,000 followers. I would DM everybody. This is what you do. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about making something smaller. What of my items would you want that would be smaller? And how much would you pay for it? And then figure it out from there, because you haven't sold 15,000 items, but if you can take 10% of that or 5% of that, and you come up with something and it becomes a super collectible, that's a good business.
Right.
That's a good business.
Yeah. I think that's awesome, man.
I mean, that's like that again, for everybody that's listening. I always tell people, like, you have people following you that you haven't never engaged with. So go out and talk to them, because they'll tell you what they will buy from you.
Yeah, we're big believers in that philosophy, and we try to speak to as many as we can. But I really do. I agree with you, and I love the idea of reaching out to basically all of them, and getting that feedback. I think that's awesome.
Cool. All right. So how can people follow you? What's your website, Instagram?
happylifewood.com, and both TikTok and Instagram at happylifewood.
Cool.
Yeah. And, we've seen huge success on TikTok. I don't know if you looked at our TikTok or not.
No, I haven't. I'll check it out. Yeah.
We're up to 130,000 followers.
Wow.
And we've had 4 videos go viral. One has 5 million views.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, we've got a total of about 10 million views between 4 videos. Yeah. So,
cool, man. Well, dude, keep up the great work, Steve. And that's inspiring. The fact that you were laid off from your job, you're able to do this full time and get your son. You're like living the dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, like I said, it really is. It's a dream, and just want to keep it going, man. And it's people like you that give me the opportunity to tell my story and and get my work out there. That's made it possible. And we're not afraid of it. We're not afraid to, just go after, whatever opportunities are out there, whether they be, influencer type, scenarios or, podcasts, whatever it may be. We, had partnered with Cuts All, to do some stuff that I think they shot a video that I think is really dope. That kind of shows my whole process. But it's all about that, man. Just partnering with good people and leveraging what's out there.
Yeah. Cool. Steve, thank you so much for hopping on and sharing your story.
I really appreciate the opportunity. It's awesome. And let's stay connected, man. Definitely.
All right. Take care. Talk to you soon.
All right. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to the Woodpreneur podcast, the #1 podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. If you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating and review. You can also tap into our community by visiting woodpreneurlife.com. Once again, that's woodpreneurlife.com.